Thank you. Thanks for having me here today. It's extra special for me to be here today because Russell was my teacher 13 years ago, and he is still one of 3 voices I hear in my head while I'm working through different projects and problems. And it's quite a loud, thundering noise. So it's so exciting to see that we're still in contact and whatnot. So, move that mouse out of the way. About a month ago, my sister-in-law was telling me, we were out for dinner, and she was telling me that she had been using Preparation H underneath her eyes to kind of like suck away the puffiness and like tighten up all the wrinkles. She's like 36, so this is a concern for all of us in our 30s. And it's something I had heard about before, like many times. It's nothing new. Like magazines write about it all the time, and supermodels use it, but I had never tried it. So fast forward a couple weeks, and I was going to this event in Toronto, and I had kind of been overworking myself too much, like usual, and jumped on an airplane, did the red eye thing, because I always do that for some reason, and was tired, and I had to go to this event. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna buy Preparation H. I'm going to put this on my eyes, and I'm gonna look great. I'm gonna like, no one's gonna know I'm tired. They're not gonna know that I'm overworked, all this stuff. So I go and get it, apply it. I think it works. Like, you know, it's a little bit brighter and whatnot. So I go to this event, and the event went well. I had a lot of fun. And then the next day, I'm kind of tired. We drank a little bit and whatnot. So I was pretty tired the next day. I get up and I have a shower. I blow dry my hair, and then I brush my teeth. Except it wasn't toothpaste. It was greasy, and it wasn't minty fresh, and it had a really bad aftertaste. I had brushed my teeth with Preparation H. So as you can see, when they are turned over, they look similar, right? And when you're tired and you're not seeing straight, it's extra hard to differentiate between the two. So it was pretty gross. Brushed my teeth multiple times, still wouldn't go away, left this bad taste in my mouth. And then 3 days later, I'm still in Toronto, again, still tired, brushed my teeth with Preparation again. So clearly, here I am, not learning from my mistakes. And you know, it got me thinking that sometimes good decisions and bad decisions are actually really hard to differentiate. And sometimes they look very similar to each other. And there are things that happen in our lives that make it extra harder to see between the good and the bad decisions. And sometimes that's fatigue, stress, different reasons. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to just talk about a specific design project that talks about the bad mistakes I made, the bad mistakes that the client made, and the ones we dodged together. And the reason being is, so partly why I want to talk about this is because if we don't pause and reflect on our mistakes, whether they're like little or they're huge, we just keep repeating them, like I did with the Preparation H story. And you know, with Preparation H, it literally stayed in my mouth for like a week and a half. And it's disgusting, right? Like, I just don't ever do that. I actually Googled it afterwards to see if like other people have done this, because I was like, is this just me? And the only other people that have done this apparently don't speak English. So I've got to like wake up a little bit. And so if we can take that time to kind of study our mistakes and observe why it is that we had that error in judgment, then we're less likely to repeat history. For example, I could have taken the Preparation H out of my cosmetics bag and put it in my suitcase, so I didn't do that again. The best part of that is I laughed at myself quite a bit with my friends about the whole thing. So I'd like to talk about Sea to Sky Seasonings. It was a project that landed on my plate about a year and a half ago. The client is Vancouver-based. It is a Vancouver-based hyper-local product. They specialize only in seasonings, so salts, so table salts. They've been in the market for quite a while. And they were only selling locally. So they weren't doing very well, and the client came to me and said, we've got a couple problems. I've got big dreams, I've got big goals, and I want to make a lot of money, and I want people to know about this great product. How do I get this in Dean and DeLuca? How do I get this in Williams-Sonoma? How do I get this in the States? How do I get this into Paris? How do I get into the places that will appreciate what it's really worth? So that was one of his problems. The other problem was that he had been so hell-bent in showing the product, the colorful salt in this case, that he had picked a case that when you opened it, the salt just like flew out everywhere. The third problem in it being such a hyper-local product was the naming of each of the brands. So in Vancouver, people know what Davie Street is. They know Commercial Drive. They know Robson Street. Move that out of Vancouver, and nobody really knows. I mean, some people know certain streets, but not generally speaking. So there was a disconnect that in terms of launching it bigger. And here's one of the first kind of bad, or one of many bad decisions that the client had made before coming to me. That they didn't know about, so they couldn't actually tell it was a bad decision. There's another salt that they had called Wreck Beach, and same clear case. The salt actually was kind of this brown color and it had little black specks. Ironically, it actually looked like sand, and then it said Wreck Beach on it. They just thought they were being witty and whatnot. And so one of the first things we do when we get a new branding project is that we dig in. We do a lot of research on a lot of different spectrums. And one of the things we did was look to see what was the current consumer perception of the brand, just if that could give me any insight. And so I was looking at consumer reviews, and I came across this review of this guy who was saying, he had a photo of the salt, and it said Wreck Beach, and had the sand, and he said, how could I even think about putting this on my food? All I can think about is dirty bums. Like, this is so disgusting. This looks like you captured sand in a container, and it says Wreck Beach. For those of you who are not from Vancouver, Wreck Beach is a nude beach, so pretty gross. So Russell kind of alluded this in my intro. A big part of what we do is build stories. Stories resonate, stories spread. And what are the best stories? What are the good stories? What are the bad stories? The ones for us that are great are the ones that have a deep emotional connection. So we do a ton of research to figure out what's going on with the consumer understanding, consumer motivations, aspirations, all that sort of thing. Then we put that aside and we look at how we can create an emotional connection with a brand and a consumer and what that looks like. So part of that is digging deep and defining the ownable truth and then building a story that resonates. So the client reluctantly gave me carte blanche. Took a little bit, but he said, I want to keep the name at first, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. But I convinced him to let me change the name, and so that I could build a story that wouldn't be so hyper-local. And so I started researching salt. And for someone who's had salt for her entire life, I actually didn't know too much about the histories and the origins of it, and was pretty marveled at what I found. Salt has this amazing, amazing rich history, and one of great value and wealth. And so in part of our brand problem that we were given was that we wanted to elevate this product. We didn't want to keep it at the low price point that it was. We needed to take it into the premium category, a category in which it would straddle gift and grocery. It would be, the end goal was that people would want to give it as gifts, which is kind of odd. People don't usually give salt as a gift. So that was part of the challenge. So in the research, we created this story. The story of Amala. Salt has a rich and flavorful place in history. It was once so valuable that it was known as the white gold. It was used as currency for the trade of goods and services, hence the term salary. Pound bars of salt were called amole, and they were used as currency until the 20th century. So to find that nugget of how valuable salt was, we couldn't help but think, here's the beginning of the name for this brand. Now, MLA is a Latin word, and it didn't really have that refinement and that polish. So did a little bit of kind of wordsmithing to it and added a bit of a romance and capped it off, bookmarking it, A and A on both ends, was the solution to give us AMLA. So we have this really in-depth process at Arithmetic where we create a very kind of, I kind of call it like rapid dating to a certain degree, where I need to get as intimate as possible with my clients as quickly as possible. Because the more intimately I know them, the more intimate the work can be for the client. And I have all these strategies and whatnot. And for 9 out of 10 clients, it's a beautiful process. This particular client is more of the Excel spreadsheet client and less of symbols and metaphors and great stories in his life, as much as I love him so much. And so he didn't really give me much. So here I am pulling, digging, mining, trying to get something, some kind of ownable, authentic truth from him. But he says to me, Margherita, this salt it's kind of a necessity. We all need salt in our food. We all use it. And we're wanting to make it premium. But I just don't want people to lose the fact that it is a necessity. And it's really, really important that people know they can use a salt on pigs, like beef, pork, and fish, all different types of fish. So that's all he kind of really gave me. And so we strung that together and we created this tagline, Tabletop Necessities for Land and Sea. So with that tagline, this was my first big idea. I thought, okay, I want to introduce some wit into this. I'm going to make the whole package look very premium and have all these details and be quite refined. But I don't want it to be stoic. I don't want it to be too stiff. I want it to have something silly about it. So I did this. Okay, there's this pig. He's going to be diving into the ocean, and did it all hand illustrated and whatnot. So excited. I presented this amongst a few other ones to the client, kind of like thinking, yeah, he's gonna go for this. He's gonna love it. But he says to me, Margherita, I like it. It's nice, but I just really, really want to see a pig in a boat. I just really think it'd be great if I could see a pig fishing in a boat. People would get it then. And he's and then it keeps going. Right? He's I talked to my wife about it. I talked to my kids about it. I talked to my investors. They're sold. They love this idea. I'm oh God, okay, I have to do it. How do I get out of this? I have to do a pig in a boat. So I don't know why, but I did a really obese pig in a boat. I think it was maybe out of retaliation for the horrible idea. I was okay, so this little porker, he's sitting in a boat and he's fishing. Clients I like it, but can I see more pigs in a boat? I'm not really sure. Should the pig sit? Should the pig stand? Should he stand on one leg? Should he stand on 2 legs? Maybe he should be skinnier, or maybe he should be younger. So here are some of the iterations. The best one was, it needs a sunset. I know what's missing. It's a sunset, right? Okay. So at this point, you can probably guess how I'm feeling. I'm feeling a little bit demoralized. I'm feeling how am I doing this at this point in my career? Why in God's name am I doing pigs and boats? This is not what I signed up for. It happened to be a weekend, and there was I think there was a holiday around that time. So I stepped back from the project, and I had been overworking. I had too many projects on my plate. I was putting too much pressure on myself, too much stress, and took the weekend to sleep, first and foremost, and then I ate a little bit better, exercised, did a few things, did things that brought joy into my life. And what I did in that action was give myself objectivity that I had lost. When you're tired, you don't have objectivity. When you don't have objectivity, you can't make clear decisions and recommendations to your clients. And so I looked for the signals at that point. I go, okay, I'm gonna put this project on halt. I'm going to regain the reins, and I'm going to give myself what I need so I can give the project what it needs. So that was kind of my first mistake in this project that I didn't see right away, not taking care of myself. So we came up with this. It was the compromise. No boat, no fishing rod. It said land and it said sea. it still had that a little bit of quirky oddity that I wanted in the project. And most of all, the client was stoked on it. So there is Amala. Another problem that I had when I was kind of going through this whole pig in the boat thing is this client, I put a lot of pressure on myself because I was really, really excited to work with this client. He is a brilliant business person, and he's very numbers oriented. He put a lot of pressure on me about, it has to yield a certain amount of sales and whatnot. And he's also, he's got a strong presence to him. So I put a lot of fear on myself, and in doing that, I didn't stand up for some of my opinions and my beliefs and whatnot, and that derailed the project a little bit. It took a little bit longer to kind of get to where I needed to get to with the project. And so because I took some time to have objectivity, I was able to observe some of my tendencies and see that in that fear, it was obstructing my ability to see. And information can cure fear. So I asked a ton of questions so that we could get to this. I asked a lot of questions, asking him, well, what is it that you're looking like? How should it feel when it's all said and done? Stop trying to figure out what it should look like, but let's spend some time and play with the idea of how will it feel when it's done, and bring him back to some of the core values that we had established at the beginning. So that was a good kind of reminder for myself. Ask more questions, figure out why they're asking for certain things, and just speak up. This is the end result of the packaging. Fast forward, I think it was about 3 or 4 months. So it was a complete overhaul. We ditched the clear box. We wanted to create some mystery, some intrigue. Everybody else in the category had clear glass bottles or clear plastic containers or clear bags. I'm a big fan of breaking convention. I like to study what the shelf set is doing in a grocery or gift category, and then do something different with reason, without it being a radical, different approach. Nobody was owning black in this category, so it was a perfect opportunity for us to create a gender-neutral package that would appeal to men and women, and have a strong presence on shelf. A great deal of analytics was put into play in determining the width, depth, and height of this box. I studied shelf bracketing systems in all different grocery stores to see how wide they were, how deep they were, how tall they were in those categories, and then talked to buyers and merchandisers of stores, and we determined how many we could get across and how many we could get deep, and then how many we could stack. And in the end, it became a merchandiser's dream and a store buyer's dream as well, too, because they don't have to stock too frequently, and it shelf blocks pretty brilliantly. You get all the boxes right beside each other, you get the brand blocking, and then you get the color flavor profiles for each one. And then we did all the sourcing. So while we're big creative ideas people, we like to build a big story. We like to make sure that they can actually happen. Big ideas aren't really worth anything if they don't actually come into fruition. So leveraging our different suppliers, we sourced a manufacturer that could do this, spec'd beautiful custom linen stock that got printed, printed the whole thing, double hit, white foil, and the client gives me a curveball. He says, Margherita, I need to make sure that I can do variable data labels on this, because sometimes I want to do, like, I don't know, Merlot meets something salt. So I need to be able to whip it up in our shop if we do it. So that's why we did this front label that has a perforation right at the lid line, so that he could customize his data as he needs it. So it involved multiple suppliers. The end result is this package that tells a branded story. You've got the story of Amala. You have these beautiful, intricate details on the sides. And you have something that feels like a gift. And I think that part of why we like to work in kind of gift and grocery categories is because I love giving gifts in general. I've always been that person since I was a young child. And I love to give gifts to myself. I think a lot of us as consumers are tired, want big things, but we can't always get them. So why not look to the everyday little things that we can do to gift to ourselves? So sometimes consumers will buy this for themselves as a gift, or sometimes as a hostess gift, a stocking stuffer, Father's Day gift, and whatnot. So here's a side view of it. Since launching, he has been doing blind selling. So before they used to go into selling visits with buyers from big stores, and they would lay out all the different salts, and then they'd have the packaging, and then the buyer would sample all the salts. Now with this packaging, the buyers don't even taste it anymore. They just go, yep, no problem, we'll buy it. Williams-Sonoma was the first one to do that. Client called me right away and just said, you've just completely derailed our sales strategy. Well, I was like, I don't need the team anymore. I don't need as many people. So he's like, and nobody wants to taste the salt. So he was pretty happy. So a lot of how we got to over here was a whole lot of me stopping listening to other people asking for things and listening to my gut, listening to that quiet gut, the voice of the client. I think clients actually tell us a lot without any of their words. If you look them in the eye, if you see them twitch or shake or look away, all of that is information to me. And I kind of clump that all up as gut feeling. So listening to that and knowing that lingering anxiety, it's a hindrance, right? But it's also information. So if you're feeling anxiety about something, or if you sense the client has some anxiety about something, that to me is reason to say stop for a second and go, okay, well, what's wrong? Like, is there something we're missing here? We had that with a client a couple weeks ago. We're like 90% ready to send these files to the printer, and he calls me kind of freaking out. And the production part in me wants to go, no, like you approved this, like we're going, right? But the listener, the intuitive person in me knows that something's not quite right, you know, and it's not just fear of walking down the aisle and saying yes, there's something else that's not quite right for him. So for me, that gut feeling, no matter when it happens in a timeline, is really, really important to listen to. So what if I forget the preparation H story? Or what if you forget this preparation H story and make a wrong choice? For me, and maybe it's because I've had a lot of bad decisions in my life, I kind of revel in them. When I spot those bad mistakes that I made or other people have made, I collect them. Because to me, they are insight and they are intel, and they will inform my decisions going forward. And to me, that's gold. It's wisdom. And as it says here, when things hurt, it's really good because it impresses upon you. If things don't hurt, if a lesson doesn't hurt you, you don't learn it. So every time I get a bruise in business or a bruise in design, I actually savor it. You nurture it, you heal it, but it is a lesson that you will carry for the rest of your career, and it is so, so valuable. So that's all I got.